Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, whenever it is that you're watching. Um, for those of you who are watching on the replay, welcome, welcome. So today we were discussing the plan and the goal is for us to get a better understanding of what's preventing people from getting the sales that they're looking for. A number of people have reached out to me and shared with me that they're getting sales or they're finding that their sales cycle is a bit long, or they're finding that they're not getting as much consistent revenue as they'd like in their business. So I figure I would host this funnel review so that I can go through, you guys can bring your funnel or your questions in a more confined space and we can discuss this. So one of the things that's going to be very important is that before you fix anything, you want to ensure that you can prove it, right? So you want to ensure that you're able to separate what actually happened from what you think happened. So like a lot of times we're like, well, I think, and I'm like, well, you think, or do you have something to prove to back up what you're saying, right? So it's more important for you to actually like look at the evidence that you actually have, and that will actually tell you what's actually happening. So if you are joining in for the very first time, you're watching on the replay, what have you, and you don't know who I am, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Krista Jennings, and for the past 12 years, I've been in sales and marketing, specifically in the latter part of the past 7 years, focused on optimizing sales funnels, looking at sales cycles, looking at customer journey, and really being able to understand why it is that people are finding that their sales cycles are not producing, or they're finding that the sales cycle is long for no reason and not because they have something that's complex. So if you have something, when I say something that's complex, I'm referring to something that like you have to put together like some kind of proposal, and there's a number of people that are required to give the okay for it to go to the next step. So if you're not in that space, then there's no reason why your sales cycle is going to be longer. So, as I mentioned, you want to start with what you actually know. And one of the ways to ensure that you're doing this is you're going to look at what actually happened. So, separate what you think happened and look at what the patterns and the behaviors of what people are doing. So, when I say that, what I mean by this is like look at the patterns. So one of the patterns you may notice is you're finding that one segment of your email list, or if you're sending out emails and in general, and you're finding that you're having high open rates but low click-through rates, then that is a pattern, right? That is something that you can observe. It's something that it's visible, right? It's not something that you're guessing, right? So you actually have to look at what actually happened. And then you also have to say, okay, if you did a campaign later on or at some other point and you found that you had that high open rate, and then you find that um within that group of people you get those click-through rates, you're getting those conversions, but the conversions are coming in sporadically, then you have to ask yourself, was this the right buyer? And when I say this, you have to also be able to confidently answer, would you actually want 100 more customers like this, right? So look at the last couple of people who've bought from you. Would you actually want more customers like them, right? And then you also need to understand what are they deciding to do, right? So looking at what are the decisions that they need to make. And when someone's buying something, it's not just that they are making a decision in the here and now. You have to understand, one second. Um, let's see. Okay. You have to understand um like what decisions that they have to make. And of course, it's going to be like a number of different decisions that they're going to make, right? So that's going to be important. So, some examples of like if what actually happened and was this the right buyer? Some things that you may see is that they asked for the price and then they disappeared. They book a call, but they didn't buy. They asked for a proposal and then they went quiet. I've had that where and I'll get more into details as to like what are some blind spots when it comes on to a proposal. Like if you send a proposal to someone and then they went quiet, and then You also have to look at like if they clicked, like I mentioned, like they clicked on the link, right? And that's why I strongly believe like whatever it is that you're doing, you should be able to track things. Like whatever it is that you track, you can actually improve upon. So you should always be tracking your links, not just solely depending on like Google Analytics. Like, yes, you want to have Google Analytics embedded into your website or into your landing page, so that you can see what kind of traffic is coming, but also look at the clicks of the links that are happening on your website as well, and looking at different segments of your website that's getting the most amount of traffic as well, right? So another thing is that if of what actually happened is if like someone asked a question and but they didn't move forward, right? So I guess I want to pose this question. Why do you think that the last person who potentially could have bought from you, they didn't buy? Angela, you want to share why you think that?
I think, at least from what I've been told, is that they weren't ready or they don't have the funds or they have to think about it more. Those are usually the reasons I get.
Okay, take funds out of the picture, right? When they have to think about it more, what does think about it more mean? Like, what does that mean?
Sometimes people want to weigh if it's something they want to commit to.
Right.
Yeah,
So do you think that you've given them enough information to make a decision?
I think so.
Why do you say that?
Well, I tend to, what you could say is overshare in a way. I think I always give the information and I say, well, here's what is expected. Here's what you're going to be doing. Um, Here's the challenges you might face while you're doing this thing. I think I give that information.
Do you think you give too much information or do you think you give just enough information?
I think I give too much information.
Okay, so that in itself is a problem. Here's why. If you give people too much information, then they're like, they get overwhelmed or like it feels like it's a bigger decision than they would rather not make, and not making a decision is better than making a decision, even if they know that they want it, right? So I was reviewing a sales cycle recently, and that was one of the things that I was able to really pick up on really quickly. It was like looking at like from the first time someone heard about their brand to like all the like the steps and all the journey, like and all the things that were happening. I'm like, you're telling them too much stuff. Like and you're also telling them things that is not relevant, or telling them things about things that don't actually matter. Like they don't care about all of this other stuff. So like how you want to map this out is give them enough information so that they make the decision that they need to make to say yes, 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 and yes. If you give them more than that, then you're going to overwhelm them because you have to remember, what are they deciding? Like every time, or like every when they even think about like depending on how informed they are, let's just use the example that they're very informed about the problem that they're experiencing. What decisions do they need to make? What's okay, so let's map it up for you right now. What's the first decision that they need to make?
I guess if they want to come for coaching or not.
But no one buys coaching. So what's the decision that they need to make? Like what's the problem? What's the solution that you provide?
How to get out of the problem you're in.
How to get up the what?
Get out of the problem that they're in.
What's the problem that they're in?
It could be anything.
Well, no, it has to be specific. So what's the single most impactful, the most probable thing, like the most problematic thing that they're experiencing that they would reach out to you?
The most popular ones I see that come are relationships. Relationships, money, Those are the most popular ones that people come and they say, well,
Right.
how do I deal with this?
So they're having issues with making money, or they're having issues with like when you say relationships and money, like those two are two different, like they kind
Yeah,
of.
they're two different things. They're two
Yeah,
different things.
right. So I guess what I'm really trying to like kind of like steer you into understanding is that like it has to be like one specific thing, like one very core thing, and then it can branch off to other things. But like yeah, because if it's wide, you're going to attract a whole bunch of people, and that whole bunch of people are not in the position to make a decision, right? Like they you need to be clear on what it is that they're deciding. And that's going to impact their next decision and their next decision, and that there isn't a mismatch in the next step of like your funnel or their buying journey. So like what's the single most problematic thing that they're experiencing?
I That question is a little, I don't, it's a little bit tricky because it's not, okay, I'll say it to you this way.
Mhm.
I tell people you can have a million problems, but there's always just one solution to every single problem, and that is your perspective of the situation.
Okay.
And so what I do is I teach people how to change the perspective, but not just how to change your perspective, why to change your perspective, and what those laws are. Those laws are never going to change for anybody.
Right.
They're not biased. And so that's why it doesn't matter what situation you're dealing with. If you apply the formula to your situation, you will change and so will the situation.
Right.
And I know that seems broad,
It is.
but here's the thing. It's not at any given time throughout the day, and I get a voicemail.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I'm really struggling with dot dot dot.
Mhm.
Like I had someone who was dealing with substance abuse, right?
Mm.
And they decided they were gonna quit. They just made up their mind that they were gonna quit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but that's exactly how you do it. Once you make a decision, everything flows from the place of that decision. It is understanding that you have to make a decision. And so now they've been clean,
Right.
not because of anything that I said in particular, but because they knew me from a long time ago and they were part of my spaces a long time ago and remembered what I said and applied it. And so that's the message that I'm giving to people. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not a fly by night kind of a thing. It is an actual formula that works every single time.
Right.
So it seems like a really broad net, but it but it is not a broad net.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you there.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The framework is a framework. However, like they get to this the end, the solution, that's fine. Like that's separate and apart. But right now, like in order for you to attract people, you have to speak to a very specific problem. That's the point I'm making, right? So how you help them, that doesn't change. However, you decide to help them, your framework, like that is your framework. But like if someone doesn't know you and they're like and they could be your potential client, how are they going to know that you can help them if you're not speaking their language? So like what are they deciding? Like they're deciding they want to change your life, yes, but that's also too broad. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so because it's I I guess what I'm looking at here is I don't necessarily have something to sell anyone. I do have the hermetic cards and the workbook because I think if people get it in their hands and they do it every day, you don't need me. And like you say, when if how are they going to find me? My usual question is, what are you dealing with that you think you're stuck in? You're not actually stuck. That's the question. You think you're stuck, but you're not. And so I can't tell them where they're stuck. But if I say that word to them, most people do feel stuck in some kind of a way that they can't break free of whatever that thing is. And that's the word I usually use.
Right. So you're identifying where they are. So you're starting with like their behavior, like not like your interpretation of it, but their behavior. And now this is where you're going to think about how the buyer is thinking, what they're thinking, right? Because if you start there, then you understand how to take, like how you take them to the solution, to the promised land, wherever you take them. Like that's your framework, that's your intellectual property, that's how you take them. But it's like thinking about like what behavior is it that they're experiencing right now, what challenge it is that they're experiencing right now, like what actually happened. So like that's like the core, right? So like um so I guess some questions to ask is like, what did they actually do? What did they actually say? At what point did their behavior change? And what happened immediately after that? And what immediately happened before and after? And then what do you know? And what have you assumed? So like if you can ask those questions, like I guess like the next person that you have a conversation with, if you're able to like ask those questions and gather that, then you're putting yourself in a better position to actually like speak to like where it is that they are, and you're starting with their behavior and not like your interpretation of that.
I mm, I think I get it, but I'm not sure.
Okay, sure. Let's unpack it. Where are you finding like where are you
Well,
finding
I like I mentioned, I don't think I have anything to sell per
you do.
se.
Okay. So
Like,
you need to, you do. We all do. Like I think thinking that is actually what's from having conversations with you over the years, I think that is the challenge. You think that you don't have anything to sell, but you do.
mm, it's I guess I don't see it as selling. It's more, you know what it is?
Mhm.
I feel like just open a church. Just open a nonprofit, do a church, and people will find people are always looking for a church because that's what they're looking for. That's what I do. I'm a preacher teacher. That's what I do. I don't go out there and I I don't always paint a pretty picture for people because you just never know where people are at. But my role is to to show them you are not stuck. And that's what it is. People say, well, how many months of coaching do I need? And I'm like, if you need months of coaching, I am not doing my job. You should be able to manage this on your own. And I find that,
You're saying that, but they don't believe that. So it's like you're going against like what they believe. And there's nothing wrong with challenging how people think, but that's not how like they're also telling you that's not how they want support too.
well,
So inadvertently you're shooting yourself in the leg.
the people who I encounter usually say the same thing to me. It's like, I've spent so much money on this. And I'm like, yes, I know that you have. You spend your money, but you don't do anything.
Right. So
They buy all these programs, but they don't do anything. I don't have time for that because that is draining. If you want to come and you want to change your life,
right.
you just need to apply yourself for the change. Those are the people I'm looking for.
Okay, so the people who are ready to apply themselves to the change. Okay, so Tom off the street right now is in his life is in a spiral. How do you attract Tom to work with you for 6 weeks? Let's say that. Walk me through that.
Word of word of mouth, I suppose. He
Forget about
comes
forget
across.
it. Forget about
Hmm?
word of mouth. however he gets to you, he gets to you. But like, how is he going to first know that Angela exists?
I want to presume that he's seen my work somewhere, heard it somewhere, like my morning inspirations. I don't know.
Okay, so that's where you're finding it hard to attract people then, because like you need to know where they're coming from or have an idea as to where they're coming from, but also like map that out as well.
Hmm.
Right. So if he heard about you, if Tom heard about you from, I don't know, maybe he watched something online, whatever the case is. What's the first thing that he's going to think when he engages with like, what's your free thing that people like would normally see?
My YouTube channel or my
Okay.
website.
Okay, so say he comes across your YouTube channel. What's the video that he watches? That's like 3 minutes.
I have so many of those that are all
Right.
labeled in such a way, right?
Right, right. So that's okay. We're not getting to like the details of that. I'm just asking like what's the video he's gonna come across that's going to like trigger him to like think differently or to be like, okay, you know what? I need to reach out to her. Like give me an example. Like I don't even if they're multiple, just give me one example.
How to change your life in 3 steps.
Okay. And that's so broad. So because I mean, if someone's looking for a solution online, they're not saying, how do I change my life? Like they're putting something very specific,
Well,
right?
I could rephrase that as how to change any situation.
Well, any situation, no one's looking for anything for something that says, I'm looking to change any situation, right? Right. So you have to, so I guess the point I'm making, and I want it to be clear, is that like you need to speak to a very specific problem. Like if you're not speaking to a very specific problem, you're going to find that like it's not easy to bring in clients, right? So, and then you can have a ton of content, like that's great, but like if that content isn't like converting into like clients, then like that's also something to take into consideration as well, right? So like based on that, like what's the decisions that they need to make? So I know you said that they want to change your life, but what does that actually look like? Like what's okay, let's use the example of the person who had issues with substance abuse. So like walk me through like the decisions that they need to make.
They need to decide that they don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
That's their first decision.
Okay, so that's the first decision. What's the second decision?
The second decision is, okay, what's my support for not going backwards, for not going back to doing it?
Right.
That's the second thing because you want to make the decision to change and then you want to facilitate the change so that you keep the change going.
Right. And then the next decision.
Mm,
So like what you ask, what they decide, and what they need. So their decision process, right?
I, I
So
I guess I'm not very clear on that one.
right. So I would suggest that you take some time to like map out their decision process, but the problem or the thing that's going to attract them to you is something very specific. It can't be vague. Like no one is searching like I want to change my life. Like no one searches that. Like no one's looking for that solution because change your life could be anything. It could be like you said, substance abuse. It could be finances. It could be their relationships. It could be a number of different things, right? Like, yes, you can help all of those people, but the thing that's going to attract them to you needs to be specific enough. It needs to be relevant enough. It needs to be problematic enough for people to do something about it, right? So, so the point of this is really to help you understand that, like, if you understand their decision process, it makes it easier for you to sell to them. If you understand what they need, what they decide, what they ask, then it makes it easier for you to be able to say, okay, you know what? These conditions um exist, these conditions are needed, these conditions make them the right person to move forward along with, right? So that's how you're gonna know if like they're the right buyer. Like if you understand their decision process. So like a lot of times people will say like, oh, like my funnel isn't working. I'm like, well, why isn't it working? They're like, well, I don't know. Like that's why I'm reaching out to you. And I'm like, okay. And then I look at it and I'm like, you're not giving people any decisions to make. You're just telling people a whole bunch of information and then assuming that based off all this information that you've provided that they're going to make a decision. No, you have like human beings like to be told, as much as we're autonomous and all these things, human beings like to be told what to do. And it's like there's no way that like I know you're someone who's like, okay, well, you need to decide, you need to decide, you need to decide. Yes, they do need to decide, but you have to give them the information for them to decide. Like you kind of have to like spoon feed them to make that decision or give them enough information so that they make that decision as opposed to giving them a whole bunch of things. Because if you give people a whole bunch of things, they're not going to do anything with it. So I'll
I
ask you,
understand.
yeah, so I'll ask you this question and then we can kind of move forward. Like, what needs to be true before they can make any decision to work with you, other than they want to change their lives?
What needs to be true?
Yeah, for them. Other than they want to change your life, like what other thing, like what, okay, say someone who's substance abuse, let's use that example as again, what needs to be true before they can make that decision that they want to change your life, like they want to stop using drugs?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay, so do they need to do they need to have hit rock bottom? Like, do they have to be in a situation where like they're homeless? Like, do they have to be in a situation where like they're like I mean, maybe it doesn't even have to be rock bottom, but like does this have to be true that like they're they're not only hurting themselves, but they're hurting the people around them? I would assume that that would be true, right? That like it's not just them, but like maybe it's like their family, the extended family, maybe their husband, their wife, their children, right? Like I'm just trying to get you to understand like where people are and how it is that you take them along on a path that makes it easy for them to make a decision. Did I lose you?
No, you didn't lose me. I'm just trying to think about that. Like,
So what are the patterns? Like what are the patterns that they would have? And I guess I want to just kind of like maybe wrap up with that. Like if you could map out like the patterns that they've experienced or what are the things that they've done or um what are the things that they've tried and not worked? Like yes, they may have invested in programs or whatever, but like what are the specific things that they've done? So I mean programs are programs, but like what does a program supposed to help them to achieve, like what's the like what are the patterns? So like one of the patterns you would say is like it's impacting their relationships, like let's using the drug abuse example. Would you say they have they gone to like what is that place called, like where they go for help,
rehab.
rehab, like that could be like they've been in and out of rehab, maybe that's a pattern. But do you specifically want to help people who've gone through like who are struggling with drug abuse? Like who's like your ideal client? I guess maybe that's a better question to ask.
Well, I have not narrowed that down, who my ideal client should be, because I meet many people.
Right. But
Like
yeah.
even like even when I go to work, right?
Mhm.
And I'm at the till,
Mhm.
people come in and they will start and they will say something to me And they end up being coached right there. And they're like, oh my God, I never saw it that way. You're so right. And then when they come back and they see me, like the one girl, we went out, my son wanted a particular thing. So I called the restaurant and I ordered it. And I go and I pick it up. And one of the servers, she comes out, she goes, oh my God, I have not seen you in forever. And she's like, you told me that thing and I did it. And she goes, my life has never been the same ever since then. She said, it is so much better. I did this, 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 and this. I achieved this, 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 and this. And she was just the waitress I met. That's what I mean. Like she just started talking to me
Right.
about whatever this thing was that she was.
Right.
I don't know why. I guess I have the thing on my face that says, talk to me. I'll listen. I don't know. But that's what she said last night when I picked it up.
Right.
And she was so excited. And now the other waitresses are like, well, what are you talking about?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like that is
So
how I
would you
function.
say that is
I just
so would you say that she would have been like your ideal customer or your ideal client?
sure.
Okay,
Of,
so
of course I'd say that, but I didn't go looking for her.
right. But well, I'm not saying you need to go looking for people, but I think that it's important for you to create the framework to attract those people, right? So that you can they go through like a process. Yeah.
But this is how they all seem to appear.
Right, but are you monetizing those people?
Does everything need to be monetized?
Well, it's a business, right?
When I walk through the door, I'm not a business.
Everyone's a walking business.
And I think that's where the problem comes in.
Mm.
Because now everything is monetized.
Well, not
And
everything. Well, not
oh, you would
everything.
be well, clearly I'm not monetized enough.
Right, right.
But that's the thing. Like you would be surprised how many when I go across the street, the
Mhm,
parking lot for my break in the main grocery store,
mhm,
like for instance, last Saturday, I was walking down the aisle getting something and I heard my name. They all call me Angel. I heard my name and this one cashier comes running and the biggest hug ever. She goes, oh my God, my Saturday is never complete until I see you. She goes, you know, my week, I know when I see you, it doesn't matter what I dealt with that week.
mhm.
Everything. I do not know how many cashiers tell me these things. When one says to me, oh my God, you made me feel like I could do anything. And I was like, but you did it, didn't you? She was freaking out. And I'm like, well, let's go see what the problem is. And I
Mhm.
walk out there and I see it. And I said, okay, here's what you got to do then. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't think it was that easy. I said, next time, before you freak out, look at the whole thing. And then you realize that it's smaller than you think it is. And from that moment, she says to me, Angela, I've never had that kind of courage until you just gave it to me. And I was like, well, I didn't give it to you. I just showed you that you
Did.
had it.
No, you did.
Well, but that's the thing. My day consists of that. From people who call me at work from my 7 to 4:30 with an insurance claim. It always ends up with a bunch of people who tell my boss, oh my God, she really helped me. I was totally panicking and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and my boss says to me, I don't know what you do, but he's like, why are all these people singing your praises? I'm like, I don't know. All I know is that is what happens. It doesn't matter where I go, that is what happens. And they change their lives because I tell them, here's how you're gonna do it. I
Right,
say it to them and they do it, and then they come back and they tell me, oh
right.
my God, you were right. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to be right. I just wanted to show you that you were capable. And so to me, that does not need to be monetized. I just want to be in front of more people who can use what I'm sharing. It
So
doesn't it doesn't have to be monetized.
it should be because people value things more when they pay for it.
I can tell you right now that's not always the case.
I I I've been in,
Based upon what I experience on a daily basis, they didn't pay me nothing. And when they cry and they tell me, "Oh my God," I'm
but
like,
question, would those people be able to even afford to pay you though? So that's it, like those like the conditions of them being like an ideal customer is different from like them just
But
like, yeah, being appreciative, right?
they show me their appreciation every single time we interact.
Right.
So it's uh, not everything needs to be monetized,
Of
but
course.
this is why I'm putting this is why I have the cards, and this is why I have the book that I'm condensing, so
Mhm.
that it's easy to read. You can flip to it. It does, and like I told you, it doesn't matter what your situation is, as broad as that may seem. You can pick up the book and flip to whatever page you want, and it's going to tell you, because you say people like to be told what to do,
Yeah.
and it tells you how to do those 7 things in 3 steps,
Right.
and you change 180 degrees. As simple as that is, I want that for people, because the problem is now everybody becomes dependent on that thing they've just been monetized by. Like they monetized it, they're now dependent on it, and when they're dependent on it, I I may as well have just given you crack. I don't want you dependent on me. I want you
To be,
to
you
be
want to be
sovereign.
empowered. Right. Yeah. You want to be
Yes.
empowered. Yeah. I understand that.
So I guess what I want then is to be able to get the cards out and the book out to people. But
Right.
who are those people going to be?
Right. So that's
How
what I was trying to get to the core of
how
that.
do I word that? So am
Right.
I one of those people who just walks with that little pamphlet and go here,
No.
like a Jehovah Witness? Like,
Don't do that because people are gonna throw it in the garbage. You want people to consume things that they want to consume. Like if you like, I've never ever been out and about and someone gave me a pamphlet of something and it goes in the garbage. Like, or I just like, no, thank you. Like I'm not there's so much craziness happening now. I just keep walking. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't and I'm sure if they mean well, God bless them, but no. So I guess that my point to you is, or like the challenge to you is to get really clear on who those people are and so that you can speak to them. So that's the homework I'm going to leave you with is to differentiate the people who are like the ideal buyer from the people who are not.
okay, I can do that.
Right. So um by doing that, you're creating the conditions so that you can speak to those people because you're not the card's not going to sell themselves. The book isn't going to sell itself. Like, do you have a coaching package?
No,
Are you planning on creating one?
I haven't looked that far ahead.
Do you think you should? Well, do you want to hear what I think, but or you I'll ask you what you want to do first.
I I know what I want to do, but like people say, everything's got to be monetized. You can monetize anything.
Well, yeah, you can
And
monetize anything, but you don't want to monetize anything because that's like, then that's like it's more about like you than it is about them, right? Not everything has to be about you. It should be more about them, right?
Mhm.
So I guess this is what I'm going to leave you with is for you to get really clear on who that ideal customer, that client is, but start with before you even get to that point, get really clear on like what problem they're experiencing. And it could be like two or three. Obviously, it could be like a million things, but honing on two or three really problematic things that people are willing to take action on. And and then like kind of think about like how you could create like a storyline around that. And then that storyline will touch on the different decisions that they need to make.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I think,
So
at least I think so.
okay, when are you gonna do I'm holding you accountable. When are you gonna do it and when am I supposed I'm gonna expect an email from you on that?
Um, I'll get it for you sometime this week.
Okay, so I'm gonna be looking for the email from you so that I want to see what you come up with and then I'll give you some feedback on that.
Sure.
All right. Anything else before we go ahead and close this out?
Um, no,
You sound not sure.
I it'll work itself out. I just yeah, it'll work itself out.
Okay. So
Yeah.
did you, okay, so I guess before, what was the highlight of everything that we discussed today?
My focus needs more focus.
Right. And the focus, when the focus needs more focus, then you can see those patterns. You can see like creating a process around it makes it easier for you to map it out as opposed to just like aimlessly like working on something, right? Or just like throwing a whole bunch of things out there and hoping that something's gonna stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
So I will leave you with that and I'm looking forward to your email and we'll talk soon.
you got it.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah, bye.